This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everybody, to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have a good neighbor on with us, and that is the lovely Nancy Macdonald of Art Studio, Not Just for Children. How are you, dear?
Sean, I'm doing so well. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. The last couple of shows, I have to be honest, we didn't talk about this. This is kind of totally random to start the show, but I got into gardening and, with all of the rain and seeing the grass as green as it is, I need the sun. I'm like Superman. I get recharged by it, but I'm also okay for the rain to come in, clear the streets, clear the sand, and then just make it nice and beautiful. So then we can let all that greenery kind of fill in and start to feel good about where we are in the season.
You and I've just been talking about our love of the color green.
We have been, and it's a lovely color. I've got a forest green, I was mentioning, type color in my bedroom, and it just kind of brings it back to that nature thing, that soulful feel. Fantastic color. Okay, so we've never had the chance to meet before, and I'm a very curious cat. I'm sure the listeners are at this point listening to me blabber on for too long. So why don't we dive into it and tell us a little bit about your business?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you, Sean. It's a great pleasure to be here today. My name is Nancy Macdonald. I'm the owner and founder of Art Studio, Not Just for Children. I lead beginners of all ages through transformative art experiences to create the wall-worthy art of their dreams. So since 2002, when I founded Art Studio, I have brought my love of fine art and life to more than 7,000 people aged 4 to 84.
4 to 84. So when okay, now you got me going here. I got a hamster wheel happening upstairs. I'm just picturing a 4-year-old with a paintbrush, and you mentioned, fine art. I'm with somebody who is big into art, but I don't know a whole lot of it itself. So I'm going to ask some questions here. There might be some people that might appreciate these questions if they don't understand the realm of art. Okay, we're talking about fine art. Like, what's the difference there?
The difference between art and fine art, or well, art, I think art encompasses all of the different categories of art. So, musical art, culinary art, you could talk about gardening, you could talk about sewing, textile art. So fine art, visual art is just another way to drill down a little bit. I also want to be very clear that I'm not an arts and crafts person per se. I mean, I do love art and craft and crafting, but that is not the principal area of my focus. So does that help you a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Are we only talking about painting here, or are we talking about drawing as well?
Well, that is a very good question. Our finished products typically end up being acrylic or mixed media on canvas, acrylic paint. So acrylic paint is not toxic, but it's a step up from like a tempera, which a 4-year-old might use. And it has some guts to it, and you can get some beautiful color and texture and layering, which is really important for my process. And I think it keeps us on target with away from the word craft, which could be redundant to what we do in preschool and elementary school with glue and tissue paper. It's somewhat elevated from that, although both are very important and joyful.
My grandfather used to paint, and then I think the creative side of some of that stuff got passed down to my youngest sister. I got into doing like modeling clay, and I painted those little mini figurines when I was like 12 years old. and I did do some drawing and stuff like that, but never found myself in the world of paint. But I do have a very solid appreciation for people who have a talent level to be able to paint, especially with acrylic, because like you're saying, you can get into textures, colors, how how someone takes that in their mind and then puts that on a canvas. It's pretty wild.
Well, I think that's interesting. I'd love to ask you, Sean, how you felt at, I think you said age 12. How did you feel when you were creating these figurines and painting? Was it a beautiful time? Is it a great memory for you? Was it frustrating? How did it feel?
Yeah, I'd say more beautiful. I would be able to bring, they were all gray when I started, and then I'd be able to bring them to life and add, an incredible level of detail with a really fine paintbrush. And then, you make multiple of them, and then you get to kind of put them all down on a board and then really see like a grander picture. So,
well, okay, so that's gorgeous. And I would say anytime somebody asks you now that you're an adult, are you creative, Sean? Think about that. Think about what you did and what you made come to life. And I would say the answer can be and should be, yes, I am. Doesn't mean that you necessarily know how to paint, in a photorealism kind of style, high realism style, because you haven't put the work in and you haven't come to that point of many hours of practice. You're definitely creative, and the rest is maybe unknown. It's just a question of interest.
yeah, I could see that. You put a hockey puck on my stick, and generally speaking, it's going to get on the other guy's stick. So I think that a little bit of creative happens on the ice sometimes. So
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay, so being a very creative mind yourself, because obviously you wouldn't be able to accomplish what you've accomplished without being creative. People who are coming to you that, where are they? Are they people who already paint and they want to kind of up their game, or are they kind of maybe somebody like myself? It's like, hey, I, never done this before, but I think I might like it. Can you teach me? Like, what does that look like?
So it's a combination at the young age of my clients. That is typically a parent or caregiver who's determined, sometimes a grandparent, who has determined that young person should have included in their upbringing some exposure to aesthetics, to beauty, to the great and enduring, mental health benefits of creating with art tools and supplies, or they have seen a lot of early talent. So it's one of those two things or a combination. So either I really want to expose my loved one to this, or they're actually really good at this and I want to expose them. They soothe themselves by drawing or by painting figurines the way you said you did. This is their happy place. They seem to become a completely different person when they're doing this. There's a lot of reasons why, but they fall into those two categories and they somewhat intersect. Then adults, the reason an adult is going to come to me is they have this kind of enduring desire that keeps tapping them on the shoulder. I want to create something. Maybe they've seen a video of somebody painting, or they walked into a gallery and they saw something and it made them feel a certain way. And then they wondered, could I possibly do something like this, even though I haven't painted or even picked up a paintbrush, except for painting the walls in my room, since I was 10. And they want to go back to who they were at 10. So there have been many studies that have shown a joyful adult is typically someone who includes the habits and pastimes that they were busy with at the age of 10 in their adult life. So think about that. You brought up hockey. I wonder if you played hockey at 8 or 10 years old. And I'm going to guess yes.
Yep.
So do you still play hockey on a weekly basis?
I play hockey in the winter time on Sundays. Yeah.
All right. What kind of joy is that?
Big joy, big time. You know, been a hockey fan my whole life, and we just I don't play super competitive, but it's a nice way to get some exercise and still be a little bit competitive at, you know, trying to beat a defender and like little things like that. And you get creative. I've always been a goal scorer, more in my early childhood, and now later in life I find myself being a little bit more of the kind of creative mind on the ice and thinking about a little bit more about my positionment, but then also when I have the puck, where can I distribute it to somebody so that they could be in a scoring position.
Okay, so all of those analogies, you know, all of the real and metaphorical lessons that you remind yourself of and also experience while you're playing hockey, these are the great double entendres that we have in the studio as well. We talk about perspective as it relates to the painting, but also as it relates to life. We talk about, color and layering and paying attention and moral courage. I mean, all the things come up. It's both art skills and life skills. And I think that's what sets my studio apart, in that we tackle the big life themes while we are making beauty.
That's pretty cool, especially for somebody like myself. Jeff, my partner, he co-host of the show, he would definitely agree. If you listen to any of his podcasts, he likes to talk high level about life in general. That's one of his major 5 things where he will go super deep on that. And now you got me curious to ask him if that guy paints or not. So after the show, I'm going to ask him. I said, hey,
ask him.
Yeah, I just interviewed a really, really cool lady, a really cool business, and she's super creative. And if you like life, you might want to go paint with her.
I love it. I'd love both of you to come along.
Yeah, very cool.
Between hockey games.
Hey, even better. Okay, so what's your journey been like to get into what you're doing today? A lot of people sometimes, you know, they take a lot of different paths in life. Sometimes I find that's a little bit more on the rare side where they started early and they've stayed on the same path. What's yours been like?
Well, I just think it's the most gorgeous story. And I also, as everybody's is in its own way. So I had 2 very young children, and one of them was truly interested. We were a very creative household. Probably that goes without saying, but my youngest was very interested, and it was my trying to find a place to nurture that in her that led me back to myself. And she actually was very encouraging, talking about how even at a very young age, maybe this is the place where we could do this. So it started at my dining room table with, 5 or 6 young people, and it just took off through what I call, at that time, it was word of mom, because that was in the 90s. And we weren't really emailing yet with much frequency, if at all. So it just really took off. People started talking about it. It was a special thing. It was a homegrown business. It was organic. It was loving and nurturing and colorful and hopeful. It was all the things we all want.
That's a pretty cool story. A little reminds me a little bit of like Amazon. You know, they started in the garage. You started at the kitchen table. My dad's business that he got involved with and helped grow turned into $1 billion company, started at the kitchen table, stuff like that. So really, really, really cool story. And how is your daughter doing today?
Well, I have, so my business actually took me through my divorce from my first marriage, and helped me support my young family, emotionally, financially, all the things. And we now have, I've remarried, and I have a family of 5 children.
Cool.
And I would say everybody's creative in their own way. And I mean, I think that's really the critical thing, right? That we have outlets for the messiness of life, places to solve our problems, or we say in the studio, making beauty out of all this mess. Something that is ours, that we're excited. I mean, I'm sure there's moments in your work week, Sean, where you're feeling frustrated, your personal life or your work life, or there's something, and then your mind goes to, oh, but I get to play hockey Sunday night, and it sort of it elevates your spirit, and it's a bit of a carrot on the stick, right? So something that we keep in our lives, that is creative on some level, that is a great manifestation of who we are and how we're happiest, really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I would take what you just said and echo that, and saying, like, this is just generally speaking, a really good life practice, is to make sure that you dedicate some time to yourself, especially during the course of the work week, for those moments, because they happen to everybody. And we live in such a busy world, it's almost impossible to not avoid it. And so when we do have those moments, we can then revert back to say, well, I get to do this on the weekend, or, I ended up planning a romantic dinner with my partner, or whatever the case is. And then be able to kind of just then work through what you're working through, knowing that there's something to look forward to down the line.
And I think the other thing is, when we talk about hockey and we talk about art, they are singular activities. So in our multitasking society and culture, where we kind of promote that, or we can't avoid it, let's say, both of these things reduce us in the most incredible way to a single activity. You cannot be on your phone when you're on the ice.
Yeah.
You cannot probably focus on much else. And so you get into a state of flow, and that state of flow, really lifts us up above our regular life and troubles. And that is, I would say, the greatest benefit of doing something that brings joy.
Very well said. I think anybody who's listening to that, I think the light bulb just went off. So looking forward to spreading this all over the place. Is definitely, you're going to get some calls after that mic drop. Very nice. Okay, so are there any myths, any misconceptions in your line of work?
That's such a good question, and I'm dying to tell you that there are 2. So I am a creative, but I'm also a business owner. And in order to dispel the myth that all artists are starving, artists have to have a business sense. We have to have a keen marketing sense. We have to be able to, and I'm going to say as women, because I think women don't do as well with this, we have to be able to speak to what we're doing without downplaying it, actually. We have to be able to, feel good about what we're doing, and share it with people, and not feel like we're selling. We are sharing resources. We are telling people what we do and what we do well, in order that it might resonate with them if they're looking for this sort of thing. And if they're not looking for that sort of thing, that is totally fine. But you have to have a strong business sense in order to be more than a hobbyist. If you are going to make your business out of your passion, you have to have some business acumen. And so that's number 1 myth, is not all artists are starving. And also, if you don't want to be a starving artist, you need to have a business acumen, and you need to talk about what you do. Nail that elevator pitch and nail it hard, and share it with people. Feel good about that. Secondly, the creative notion. Everybody somehow gets this soul crushing message from somebody that they either can't sing, can't play hockey, they're uncoordinated, they're not creative. And I would like to say we all are born creative. And unfortunately, we get a message somewhere along the lines that we aren't able to do something. And I am here to dispel that myth. I am here to share this incredible experience that comes from making beauty out of mess, the mess that is modern life, the mess that is the beginning of a canvas, right? It starts off somewhere through the middle, it gets a little, uncomfortable, right? Discomfort is good for us. And we might start to say to ourselves, this isn't working out. This is no good. We have to push through that discomfort. And then not only do we have a beautiful canvas at the end that is wall worthy, but we teach ourselves that we can do hard things. So those lessons, Sean, that you get on the ice are available to us anywhere we go, as long as we dig deep and do hard things. And it informs our next steps in our world, in our personal life, in our professional life, in our physical life, whether we're taking up running or we're, whatever the case might be, trying a new sport, trying a new hobby. So those two, they're really important to me. And that's why I've taken a long time to talk about them. Business acumen, no starving artists over here. And then I work with beginners. And that's the great, arc where I can take them.
I'm going to go back to talking about Jeff for a little bit. He's got it tattooed on his arm. Do hard things.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Principles. I've always carried those principles with me through early 20s when I first got into sales and into business. And then now being a business owner, having the work ethic to just go out and do it, that type of thing. But you can apply that principle to anything, whether it's going hard in the corner and skating extra hard when you're tired, all the way to having a fear or having somebody tell you that you don't have a creative mind or you think you can't create something beautiful, and just pushing back past those barriers and just going and doing it, trusting the process of doing it. It's through struggle that we learn. It's how we become more hardened and become better human beings, is going and doing things in the unknown and coming out of that and realizing that you raise the ceiling on yourself, that you can do more, because anybody can do anything as long as they put their mind to it.
Mindset is, now we are finally talking about mindset being 90% of everything. And I believe that with my whole heart.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well too. Okay, so you bring people together and help them create beautiful pieces of fine art. And how long have you been doing this for now?
So over 20 years.
20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is an accomplishment. And so when you're not working on your business or working in your business, what does Nancy like to do for fun?
Well, we have a big, beautiful family. So first and foremost, I love to spend time with them, although, they have their own lives. So that doesn't happen as frequently as we would like. But really, I love to be outdoors in all seasons: ski, skate, snowshoe, swim, kayak, hike. I also love to read, to mentor other people. I have a mentorship group with another small business owner. I like to share what I've learned, all the mistakes, all the glory. Of course, great films. I love to enjoy a simple meal with family and friends, play games, and on occasion travel.
You like to do a lot of things. You mentioned games. What kind of games?
You know what? I'm a big fan, Sean, of table games. I have like jars, like mason jars, and I put questions in them. And when we do, so we've got an adult retreat coming up, And so I have a jar that's for small business owners, if our focus is on that, if it's on mindset, just prompts. Because even though I've only been married now for 3.5 years, we sit down at dinner a lot of nights, and it's often us, on a weeknight. And it's easy to fall into patterns and forget to ask the good questions. And I know you're a very curious human being. It's probably why you started a podcast. You like to be in the company of people who inspire you. You like new ideas, new perspectives. Sometimes we get into ruts, and it's a way to prompt people. So I love table games. I would say my family's probably a little sick of it because I always like to play games, but, and then Scrabble, anything that's, good cognitive exercise, Scrabble, card games, euchre, poker.
Yeah. Julie is my significant other, and we love every form of every game, whether it's a lawn game, card game, board game, video game, you name it. We're both very competitive as well too. I get invited every year to a euchre tournament at this lovely couple's house, and they have 4 levels of action, and there's like 3 to 4 tables per level, and it's absolute chaos. It's speed rounds. Get as many as you can based on your team. Every time it rotates, you've got a 10-minute break between rounds, and then you switch partners, and it's different. It's fast. It's such a really cool, fun atmosphere. And by the time you're done, you've gotten to know all 40 people that came to the tournament, and then they end it, and then you get to socialize after. It's just a really fun way to socialize and get to play some games and use your mind and all that fun stuff.
I love it. And, and when you're playing a really fast card game, for example, again, it's that flow state. If you start thinking about your to-do list or an issue at work, you're done. So again, we can get into that state, right? Which takes us away from regular life, brings us back fresh once we re-enter regular life. It's really, really useful.
Yeah, I'll try as much as possible on a daily basis. Typically, obviously, it's always after the work day is complete to really kind of put the phone down and then get into doing something. And like you said, getting into that flow state. You have to have that harmony between it. If you don't, then that's where you start becoming miserable, and you start, going down that rabbit hole that we will not go down today. So let's switch gears here a little bit. Something a little bit more on the serious side of things. We love asking this question. It helps to create deep, meaningful conversation. And it helps build trust as well too, for how people are willing to share experiences within their life, because it is a serious topic. Sometimes it is a tragedy that's occurred in somebody's life. People experience hardships and life challenges. We always set ourselves on a path. We try our best to stick to it. And then life decides to push and pull us in all kinds of different directions, or will face us with an obstacle. And then all of a sudden we have this daunting task of trying to overcome them. And what I've always been fascinated about, that I mention very often on the show, is how the resilience that human beings have, how we're able to find silver linings from these things and, carry hope to move forward. So we can move forward because we have to move forward. There is no other option than to move forward, but that struggle makes us stronger, makes us better. And so I'm curious to ask you if you've ever experienced a hardship or a life challenge in your life that you rose above. Maybe it made you better, maybe it made you stronger, or maybe you took some silver linings from it.
Oh, my goodness. I love that question so much. Well, I would say definitely leaving my first marriage was very hard for me to do, something that I needed to do, and giving ourselves permission to do the hard thing when the other thing is the thing there's that commitment and not giving up and all of those things over here. But over here, in your gut that you've done all you can, and you need to make change. So, Sean, I cannot even put words into how doing that hard thing changed my life. There's obviously grief attached to doing hard things, and I would never deny that truth. And grief that doesn't necessarily leave you, even given a very happy life and very happy outcome. But I found out what I was made of through that time, and it was shall we call it maybe forced discomfort, right? If we're talking about the gifts of discomfort. And so as a result, I was on my own and needed to really find out what I could do, both in business and in my family life. And it changed my life forever. I'm not a proponent of divorce, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just, if I'm going to make reference to a big thing for me that was hugely an event that was an event of adversity, it was that time and the building afterwards. And I think it really, because I was very happy during those years and very happy with who I was and my business and my family. I think that led me to my great love, actually, the man that I'm married to now. And I think it was because I had, you have to become the person you want to meet. And I think I was that person. Do you know what I'm saying by that?
100%.
Right. So the bar was set higher for me because I wanted to do the best by my family, and I had left something that could not be fixed, and the universe responded, quite frankly. My business took off after that, and it was the floodgates kind of opened.
Yeah, the universe takes care of itself. I'm a big believer in that. What you put out is what you get back. And I won't cite specific people, but there are people within my inner circle, people outside of my inner circle that I've watched, in picking and choosing a partner and going for the wrong things that eventually don't. And not everybody is made for everybody. I believe that there is somebody for everybody, but elevating yourself and healing yourself, being the person that you want to attract, is 100% totally true, because you do. I've seen it happen to myself. I've seen it happen to people close to me. It is a very real thing. And through that struggle, obviously, like you mentioned, we don't want to, condone that. But if it's not the right thing for you, then a change is needed to be made. And happy to see that the silver lining from that worked out in your favor.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've had my recent biggest hardship I've gone through was right after the pandemic in 2021. I had to leave a 9-year position with a company. The pandemic mucked it all up. That company doesn't even exist anymore. I had a fall from grace, being a top income earner to having absolutely nothing. Trying something to be a business owner and that just sucking my bank account dry, having to go in debt, and then deciding to do something from scratch and build something from scratch, and then fighting that struggle for a year and 4 months to finally not have to borrow anymore, can start paying the debt back and trying to build something special. And when you don't have the financial stability, I've had help along the way. Parents help me out. The bank loves me from that perspective. But you can't be a normal person because you have the blinders on. because you're only focused on trying to get your life back, and that hurts other relationships around you because you can't nurture and dedicate the time. Didn't even have time to water my gardens last year, and thought I was going to peel back. And then now all of a sudden I've got double what I thought I was going to do. But I think I'm in a way better position mentally to be able to accommodate that. So, without going through that struggle, if I take a silver lining from that, well, I am well and way more hardened than I was before. And knowing that when times get a little tough, they weren't as tough as that. So don't sweat the small stuff. And, so I live life a little bit differently, and I got insanely humbled from that experience. So getting back to where I was, which hopefully be kind of near the end of the year, that will be a very much more of an appreciative state, which I think is a better way to live life to begin with. So, happy it happened, happy I went through the struggle, and make me a better person for it.
Sean, that's beautiful news. Good for you. Good for you for sticking it out too. I mean, sometimes we don't know when to give up and when to fold them, and when to continue. And that sounds like it's paying off for you.
Well, it's an example for anybody who's listening to the show, right? Do hard things. And if you have a good circle around you, they'll kind of be able to tell you, because they don't have the blinders on and you might have them on. So you lean on the people that you trust the most, and you just put your head down and go take what you think is yours and go build what you want. And like I said, if you put your mind to something, you can do whatever you want in your life. So what's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
I would say over and over again, trust the process. You are a beginner. That is my specialty. I am going to set you up to succeed, and we're going to make a beautiful painting, and you will have to get used to saying, "Oh, that I made it myself."
Very cool. Okay, so before I ask the last question to wrap up the show, I want to ask, or I guess mention to the listeners, that when they look you up, they're going to find that you're located in Toronto, but you do something very special up in the summertime, which is one of the reasons why we had you on the show. And so I just want you to maybe articulate that to our audience so that they know, especially come summertime, that you are very close to home.
Thank you so much. So we have a farm studio near Thornbury, like sort of in the Collingwood area. And because of my love of being outside, I reverse engineered my business to include that time up north in the summer. So I have been running summer camp. So this is art camp for young people. It's a day camp in the area. And we basically spend the whole day outside. We swim, we create fabulous art and play games, badminton, all the things. We eat outside. We're outside all day, basically. So it's beautiful.
Nice.
And that is a 1 week at a time, and it's on my website. Then after all these many, many times that the parents, in particular the women, would say to me, "Why do kids get to have all the fun, Sean?" And I'm a big believer that we should keep fun in our lives.
Oh yeah.
Forever. Do the hard things, but also let's have fun. And so I have a 2-day retreat, just people who are interested in a spa for the soul and a chance to experience personal growth. And it is a mid-summer, 29th and 30th of July. It's a Monday, Tuesday, also on my website. And lastly, throughout the summer, I continue those large canvas private experiences or family paint experiences. And they are 2 to 3 hour blocks of time available in the summer when we're not in camp, where a person or 1 or 2 people, family of 5, could come and paint a large canvas with me outdoors at the farm. So there's really 3 offerings, and it's all beginners, in case I haven't made that clear yet.
Well, we just did. Very good. Okay, so for those who are interested, what's the best way that they can go ahead and reach you?
So website is artstudioforchildren.com. Instagram is Art Studio for Children. We can perhaps in the show notes include a 15-minute discovery call link where people can call or book a Zoom meeting with me to discuss their art goals. And then I have a very clear articulation of what they're looking for and whether or not I can lead them to success. Because if I can't, I'm going to say, I think I'm the wrong art school for you. But if I can, we'll make a plan to make it happen.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Phenomenal person, fantastic conversation. I took a lot of value from this. I think the listeners did as well. And looking forward to potentially doing this down the line.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you for your time.
No worries, anytime. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.